I'm so incredibly excited to have my very special guest today. She's a client of mine and also just one of the most gorgeous human beings you'll ever meet. So I'm so glad to introduce her to you today. Her name is Cindy Johnston, and she's the founder of Soul Sobriety Coaching and Retreats. And Cindy is she's a life coach who specializes in gray area drinking. She's also an accredited certified emotional freedom techniques practitioner, and she's a strong advocate for women's health and wellness, and she provides empowerment coaching with a difference. She's also trained under functional nutritionist and grey area drinking expert Jolene Park. And it's all about helping high functioning women in their midlife heal the disconnect within themselves to change their relationship with alcohol and create a life they no longer want to escape from. Now, the EFT portion, that's a modality that she uses to guide her clients towards discovering the beliefs that are holding them back and keeping them stuck in self-sabotaging and negative patterns of behavior, and to help them find resources within themselves to take back control of their life. She also offers confidential, non-judgmental support and personalized accountability, neuro-linguistic programming, which is NLP, conscious hypnosis, and as I've said, the EFT or emotional freedoms techniques. So Cindy is a wealth of knowledge, and she has a lot of goodness to share with us today. And we're going to be talking about specifically EFT and how it can help with stress. So welcome, Cindy.
Thank you so much, Sam. I'm so happy to be here, and thank you so much for the invitation to participate. It's quite a privilege. Thank you.
It's my pleasure. I just love having you on. I love everything you do, and you do everything with just such great heart and soul and grace, and you're all about helping other women. So, which is what we're all in business for, to help each other and move each other through life as well as we can. So, yeah, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, Cindy?
Sure. So, yeah, when you read all that back to me, it's like, oh, wow, yeah, there is quite a few things that I've added into my toolbox. And really, it's only in recent times. And just to share a little bit of my backstory, I suppose this might be like a little bit helpful to know how I came into the coaching side of things. Was back in 2018, I, for some time, had realised that I myself had a problem relationship, I would say it was called, with alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
And I grew up, my whole family drank, all my friends, everyone, pretty much everyone drinks, and it was just normal. And alcohol has been part of my life. It's normalized in society. It's just something that I did. And what I found, like a lot of women, I just used it as a stress tool, which I didn't realize at the time, but that was my go-to. Like whenever I was stressed, oh God, I need a drink. I'll have a glass of wine. It's 5 o'clock, I need some wine. I've had a hard day with the kids, or work or something. And then 2018, I did realize that, you know what, I think alcohol is a little bit taken over my thinking instead of me being in control. So every evening it was like 5 o'clock was wine o'clock, whether I felt like a glass of wine or whatever. It was just like, no, it's become a habit. I have to have that glass of wine now.
That's a common habit, isn't it?
It is. And because it is so accepted, you don't even think about it.
No.
And I never even thought about it because it was fine. This is what you do. And I suppose when I looked back, going back, it became about 20 years ago when my mum died. It became my coping mechanism then.
Yeah.
Once again, I didn't even realise, but my husband was in the Navy. The same week my mum passed, he went overseas on deployment for 4 months. I had 2 small kids at the time. I think they were 4 and 2. And being a Navy wife, no support. I was in like a country town.
Isolated.
Very isolated.
Yeah.
And So yeah, I functioned during the day, very high functioning. Nobody ever knew I had a problem. I didn't even think I had a problem. But once it came to, back then it was like 7 o'clock. I actually could stretch it out to 7 p.m. and get the kids into bed. And then it's like, oh, my time. I need to relax. I'll have some wine. And it was just a glass of wine back then. So this is 20 years ago. And but what I found over the years, the creep started happening. So that one glass became 2, became 3. And I didn't know anything about alcohol and its effects on the body back then. But what I was setting myself up for was I was self-sabotaging myself, thinking alcohol was helping me, but it wasn't. It was actually doing the opposite. And my anxiety started to increase. I then I got depression, diagnosed with depression. Once again, husband still away, kids. Well, I just need wine. So then I was mixing wine with medication as well, because my doctor never said don't drink.
Okay. So when I did cocktail of.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But still very high functioning.
Yeah.
I got the kids off to school in the morning. I was a makeup artist back then. I was still doing all of, brides and wedding makeup and whatever I needed to do. And I didn't even think about the alcohol side for many, many years. And as I mentioned earlier, it was 2018 that my depression had escalated. My anxiety was through the roof. I had put on so much weight. I just generally wasn't looking after myself, and I just felt not well in myself. But I knew I had to stop drinking or cut it down, but I didn't know how. I had no idea how, because it was so ingrained in what I did. And anyway, I'm a big believer in the universe, send you signs.
Absolutely.
And, I ended up getting this big rash on my face that would come and go. So it sent me this sign that I could not ignore any longer. You need to do something.
Yes.
And then when I went to my doctor, he was like, how much stress are you under? And I was stressed, but also to what I mentioned about, the drinking alcohol. And he was like, no, that's fine. Just cut it back a little bit, you'll be fine. Okay. So once again, I had that go ahead to still keep drinking.
Yes.
But I knew inside me. So when he actually did some tests, he was testing me for lupus, which was an autoimmune disease, but he didn't tell me. I just sort of read something. He wrote butterfly rash on what you take to have the blood test done.
Right.
Pathology. And I just went home and I Googled, what does butterfly rash mean on face? And that's how I found out what he was doing. It was lupus. Okay. And when I read everything about lupus, I'm like, oh my God, this is a life-altering disease. This could really affect my future. I got really scared. It really jolted me into thinking about my health.
Yep.
Up until then, I hadn't even worried about myself. I was too busy looking after everybody else, a mum, working, kids.
You're in survival
husband
mode.
Away. Pretty much. I had been for a very long time without realising it. And but everything that kept coming up when I looked at lupus was, do not drink alcohol, do not drink alcohol, do not drink alcohol. Alcohol does this, makes everything worse. I'm like, okay, I'm listening. That's my sign.
Good.
So that very week, that was on the Saturday. On the Monday, I had enrolled in a course because I still, as I said, I didn't know how to not drink.
Yes.
I had no tools. I had no support. I had nobody. And the other thing that was going on for me was the shame. I felt so much shame internally that I couldn't tell anybody that I think I've got a drinking problem, because automatically it would be like, oh, you're an alcoholic.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like an alcoholic.
That's right.
I wasn't having, there's a saying, vodka on my cornflakes in the morning or anything like that. I was just at 5 o'clock is wine o'clock, and I need that, glass of wine. But that glass had become a bottle by that stage, or more some nights. If I was more stressed, well, it was a bottle and a half.
Yeah.
But still high functioning. That's the thing. And I think that's the trap a lot of women fall into.
Because they're high functioning, they think it's not an issue, and they just continue on and
they keep doing it
and hide because of the guilt. Yeah.
Yep. So that guilt and shame that I didn't want to admit to anybody. And nobody, and actually tomorrow will be 1,800 days alcohol free, and next month it'll be 5 years. Thank you. But 5 years ago, nobody was talking about it at all. There was nothing out there. And to find some support, it was just you went to AA or you just, there was nothing else.
Yes.
And I actually went to an AA meeting. I thought, then it's like, as much as it's fabulous and it really does support and work for a lot of people, for me, it just didn't work for me. Right. I went to one, I thought, this is not me. I am not that bad. And I really wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
But I did need some support. But so anyway, I found some support, and it just got me thinking along the lines of, well, I needed to challenge those beliefs of I need wine. I need wine to relax. I need wine to socialize. I need wine for all the reasons that we say we need to have a glass of wine. Yeah. And I challenged those beliefs. Do I really need this? Is this really serving me? And I knew it wasn't. So I then had to find the tools within myself to support myself for better health.
Yeah.
Best thing I've ever done. I just wish I had done it a long time ago. However, it's not, your journey is your journey, and things happen for a reason, and people come into your life for a reason as well, I believe. So after I did this 6-week online course, which I didn't tell anybody about, not even my husband, I didn't tell anyone because of that shame, I started to implement what I needed to do, and self-care was something that really came up. I'd never even heard of self-care before either. Wine was my self-care.
Yes.
So
that's a trap a lot of women have. They don't practice self-care. They don't understand it. They feel guilty or selfish for practicing.
Exactly.
Or even thinking about it.
Yep. Totally. And that's something that I believe that we all need to bring into our life more. And it doesn't have to be all, day spas and pedicures and things, which it does help. but just taking a little bit of time for himself. But that's we can get into that a little bit more as well. But it was a self-care, and part of my self-care was meditation. I'd never meditated before whatsoever. So I thought, okay, I'll try this. I can't switch off, without a glass of wine. How do I switch off? So, but I just, I got the Headspace, I think it was at the time, set 5 minutes aside in the evening, and that was becoming a practice, because the other thing that I realized alcohol affected was sleep.
Right.
And I used to think I needed wine to help me sleep. And I still hear a lot of women say that.
It's a common thought. Yes. Yeah.
But once again, if you get to understand what alcohol does, it negatively impacts your sleep. So you're just perpetuating all these other symptoms with the stress.
Yeah.
And but basically meditation got me learning a little bit more about just taking care for myself. And it actually sparked something inside me that got me more interested in the energy side of things.
Right.
For some reason, I was drawn to Reiki, and I wanted to learn about Reiki. So I became Reiki Chu, got attuned to Reiki, Theta healing as well, which is another meditation-based practice. And in 2020, so when we were in lockdown, during one of these remote times that we were sort of sitting at home, and I thought, okay, I'll do some more meditation. And it was during that time that it just came to me that I needed to be coaching. I needed to help other women who were like me.
Yeah.
And because I felt there was no support out there, I didn't have anyone to turn to, anyone to talk to. I thought there must be other women that were like me out there.
Absolutely.
And,
so you had to fill that gap. Be that.
Yeah, because I honestly, when I stopped, I thought I was the only one with this problem. How silly of me was to think I'm the only person in the whole world that has this alcohol problem.
Yeah, I think most people think they're alone and the only person, and that's there's no conversation around.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what I felt I needed to do. I thought, well, I needed to help other women in my community, even if it was just, other Navy wives, because I live in a Navy town, if I could help them not feel so isolated as well. So life coaching came to me as meditation. So I looked into that, and, yeah, that's what happened then. I started the next month through the Life Coaching College and did the training for 6 months, got a diploma in life coaching, which then opened the door for me to be a grey area drinking coach. So through another sobriety mentor based in London, she introduced me to Jolene Park, who is a specialist in the grey area drinking coaching. She's based in the US.
Yes.
And yeah, so I became one of her master coaches. And through the grey area drinking, then I met another ambassador for Be Sober. So Be Sober is also UK based, but they had a lady who was based in Perth who was an ambassador for them, and she did EFT.
Right.
So yeah, so I met this beautiful lady in Perth, and as I said, the universe brings people to you for a reason. And we got chatting, and I just knew then this was the next step that I needed to do, was to learn. She was an EFT trainer, a master trainer. I needed to learn how to do this as well. So then when I realized just how amazing this modality is and where I could bring this into my coaching for women in the sobriety space, it would just be so helpful and really just cut through the reasons why women want to drink in the first place. And because often it's not just, the surface level of just picking up a drink because, I need to relax or I'm bored or whatever. Often if it becomes where it's controlling you, not you controlling it, there's more underlying issues at play.
Okay. So can you explain to us what EFT is?
Sure. So emotional freedom techniques basically is the long term. And it's based in traditional Chinese medicine, in that if you think of acupuncture as traditional Chinese medicine, where they use needles to tap into the meridians in the body. So the meridians are energy centers in the body. And but what emotional freedom techniques is, I'll just say EFT or tapping, is that we're tapping on the acupoints in the body instead of putting the needles in.
So it's perfect for people who are scared of needles.
Yes, totally. And so basically it's a self-help tool that once you know how to do it, you can use it anywhere. It's portable, it's easy to use, it's painless. And it works so effectively. So over the last 10 years, we've had a doctor based out of Bond University, Dr. Peter Stapleton, who's a psychologist, who has been leading the world trials and research on EFT.
Right.
And studies have now proven, there's over 300 scientific studies out there, just how effective that it is. And for instance, cortisol, which is the stress hormone that gets released in the body, it's proven just EFT will reduce that by 37%. So,
that's incredible. That's a huge percentage.
Oh, it's huge. And it actually reduces depression, anxiety. It's been very effective for post-traumatic stress disorder.
Right.
As well. And so
any emotions that you're feeling that are holding you back or making you feel not quite yourself, or depressed, sad, anxious, any of those types of things, you can use EFT for?
Yes, totally. So sort of just to go back and explain. So with the energy centers in the body, and it's linked also to the brain and how the brain functions.
Right.
So if we think about the brain, inside the brain, there's at the base, there's it's what's called the amygdala. So that's our stress response.
Right.
And closely near that is what is the hippocampus, which holds our memories and stores the memories. So what's been shown is that by calming the amygdala, it calms the stress in the body. So it calms, and that then influences the release of the stress hormone cortisol in the body. So if we can calm amygdala, that will then calm the stress.
The stress response. Yeah.
And so just as a little example here, if you can just, I've got my hand held up. I know it's a bit hard on a podcast, but what actually happens is the top of our brain, top of our forehead, all in behind there, that's what we call our prefrontal cortex. So that's the thinking part of the brain.
Yeah.
But where I mentioned the amygdala, that is, it's sort of like the primitive part of the brain. It's our subconscious, and our subconscious drives about 95% of our actions. So stress is a good thing to have, and it keeps us safe.
It has a
purpose,
but
exactly, it has a purpose. So, and its purpose, if you think way back, when we're in tribes and cavemen, and there was saber-toothed tigers and things like that. When you activate the stress response, that keeps you safe, and it'll, the blood will flow to the limbs, so you can get up and run quickly, and that type of thing. But also it stimulates that fight, flight, freeze response in the body.
Yeah.
Okay. But often there's no saber-toothed tigers chasing us,
No,
it could just be you've got a deadline for work, your boss says, I want this done right now, and that type of thing. So our stress is different these days, but our body's reaction isn't. So we still
react to stress like we're running from the tiger.
Exactly, all the time. So that's what we need to have a look at and think, well, that's not really that stressful, but our body still thinks it is. So if we can then work on calming when we feel moments of stress or anxiety, or even just little things like, before I come on here today, just that little bit of nervousness about having to chat on the podcast. Well, I'll do some tapping, just calms everything right down.
Yeah.
Or,
you're in a safe space here. We can tap together.
Yes, we can tap together. Exactly. So basically, it just really works on just calming that. So it reduces the emotional feelings that are going on. So you might feel really angry about something. Oh, my husband just did this, and he didn't unpack the dishwasher properly or something, and it made me really angry. So instead of having all the anger, we can just tap, and it just reduces it. So, and in the long term, that's just helping your body. It's helping your cells. Which then helps with all sorts of other health benefits, and just keeping you calm. Because we don't want to be in a high state of stress all the time. It has very negative impacts. Yeah.
And it would help if you're reducing your stress, it'll help reduce your blood pressure, your heart rate. It'll make you feel more calm and centered. And
yes.
Yeah.
And then that just has a flow-on effect as well, whether it's internally or whether it's, people outside that you're interacting with. If you're not all that, anxious and cranky and whatever, just, for no reason. But it also then helps you make better decisions, because you're responding, you're not reacting. So whether it's in the office or whether it's in the home, yes, you can make decisions from a more calmer place.
Which is only ever a good thing, isn't it? If you're in reacting mode, you make decisions you never would under other circumstances.
That's right. And then you have all these regrets later, and the guilt and the shame. And once again, it's that circle going around. So it can then also help, as I said, with the clarity, making decisions. It helps your mindset. It can help to release limiting blocks and beliefs as well, because often how we react and how we deal with things, and from our perspective, is based on past experiences.
Yes.
And sometimes those past experiences may not have always been good ones.
Yeah.
And then we make decisions based on those past experiences, and by releasing the emotional charge related to those past experiences, that can then set you up for better decisions again, once you can clear that out. Just a quick, what's coming to mind quickly for me was I've had, like a lot of people, a phobia of the dentist.
Yes.
for many, many years. And it goes back to when I was about 3, and they put me under gas and ripped out all these teeth. And then when I was in the Navy myself, I had this very traumatic experience where I went for a checkup, and I walked out of the dentist chair surgery after having been given a direct order to stay in the chair and not leave, 4 wisdom teeth later less in my mouth.
Goodness.
And it was very traumatic. So ever since then, I've had this fear of the dentist.
Understandable.
But through EFT, I've been able to work through that fear using one of the different techniques that we have, which is a trauma-based technique. Nice. Because it was a big trauma for me to do this. And so recently I've had to have some dental work, major dental work, a crown, because I never went to the dentist for a long time. I've had to have some dental work done. And I was just amazed. I've been able to tap my way through. So before I went in, when they did the initial work, I've ended up having a selfie in the chair with the dental technician, like, hey, look at me. Like, I can now go to the dentist. And then having some major work done just recently, I tapped before I went in, and I tapped the whole way in the chair. So it was a different way of tapping. I just used my fingertips because we have a lot of acupressure points in our fingertips as well. So, but I just felt I was so much more calmer, relaxed. He was able to get the treatment done much more quickly, because normally I would just tense and cry, and
I was difficult.
It wasn't a pleasant experience. But this way, it was all done, and afterwards, I felt so much better within myself that, hey, I did this. Yes.
Wow, that's an amazing difference, isn't it? Such a more positive experience for you and the dentist, and for the dentist too. He would have been really impressed with seeing the difference, and just having you so much more calm and in control of yourself. You still would have been feeling some fear, but it wasn't controlled.
Not as bad as normal. So EFT did help me with that, but it can also help with cravings, and not just alcohol. I do bring that into my coaching as well, but any sort of cravings. So it does, I worked with a lady recently on her chocolate craving, and spoke with her yesterday, and it's only been 10 days or so. She said, nope, no desire. Once she had a piece of chocolate, she would eat the whole block, and she couldn't stop at one. It was a bit like me with my glass of wine. I couldn't stop at one glass. She couldn't stop at one piece of chocolate. So, and that's fine if that's okay with you, but it was becoming a problem for her.
Yes.
With the sugar aspect and different things. So cravings, weight issues as well. Sports performance, physical pain. We can actually tap to reduce physical pain as well.
Right.
And headaches, illness, addiction, as we spoke about in Limiting Beliefs. So there's a lot of areas that EFT can be of benefit in your life.
That's quite fascinating. And it's wonderful that it's such a non-invasive natural tool that you can use that has such huge effects on your mind, body and soul, and lots of scientific studies to back it all up as well. So for women in business and in life in general, we have a lot of stresses. So obviously we could use EFT to help manage the stress and not go into that fight or flight mode quite so much. And I know that you work with a lovely organisation called Look Good, Feel Better. I'm jumping ahead a little bit there.
No,
and that's helping women going through cancer and deal with the stress around that. So can you talk to us a little bit about how EFT can help everyday women in their life deal with stress and reduce stress in their life, and in maybe dealing with their business or health issues by using EFT?
Yes. So just in like everyday life, so women in business, it may be just leaving the house, with the kids and just getting in the car or traffic. You can tap at any time. And it just might be, even though I'm just feeling really stressed right now, just thinking about that, the business meeting I've got in an hour's time, and I haven't done all the preparation yet. And you can just, it's better to be specific instead
Right.
of just saying, oh, I'm always stressed. I just have to tap because I'm always stressed. So that wouldn't work too much, because it also then will confuse the body. That the brain needs to know specifically what you want to tap on.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So just to explain a little bit about tapping. So basically, all you do is we use, say, 2 fingers, and just on the side of the hand, that's where we would have a setup statement. And so whatever the issue is, or the target that you want to talk about at the time. So whatever the stress is. So I feel so stressed about this meeting I have to go to soon. So you bring up what is actually stressing you. So that's the whole idea, is that we need to focus on the negative. Right. Excuse me. And so you might be thinking, well, why focus on the negative? Because that's what needs to be released. So it's all about telling the truth to your body. So your body, your body tells you so much. And if we can tune into our body and listen to what's going on. So it might be you have the flutter in your tummy, or you have a tightness in your throat, or you have it, your back is tight, or normally sort of from the hips up.
Yes. Yeah. That's
where you'll feel it.
Yes.
More so. So your body talks to you all the time. And so if you can just have a listen to your body and just say, okay, look, I've got this headache, or my jaw is tense, clenching.
Yes. That's a good sign of stress, isn't it?
Well, yeah. So, and just really focus in what the problem is. Then the other side of the coin, what we need to do then is the acceptance of it. Okay, this is what's coming up for me, but okay, I accept that's how it is. So what we would say is something along the lines, even though I feel this stress, just thinking about that meeting coming up, I deeply and completely accept myself. Or I accept that's just how I feel right now. So some form of acceptance. And we tap on that setup statement 3 times on the side of a hand. And then there's acupressure points that we use in EFT, that we go around the body. We start at the top of the head. There's points on our eyebrows, around our eye, under the nose, under the lip, and then on our collarbone and under the arm. And for any of your listeners, there's plenty of YouTube videos out there that they can have a look at, or that type of thing, just to see where these points are that I'm talking about. But we do a round of tapping. And before we do that round of tapping, we'll gauge just how stressed we are on a scale of 0 to 10. So 0 being no stress at all, 10 is like off the charts, right? Yeah. So you just sort of just have a guess, it doesn't have to be accurate. You just sort of, oh yeah, I feel it's about a 7 out of 10 right now. I'm feeling a bit stressed. So we do a round, and then just take a breath, and then sort of tune into your body again. It's like, well, how am I feeling now? And it may stay the same, it may go up, but often you'll find it'll go down.
Okay.
And then you think, okay, I don't feel as bad. Let's do another round. So, and generally, if we can get it down, like to a 0 or a 1, that is great.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's just like basic tapping. So you're acknowledging the problem, and then you're accepting it. Okay, so, but there are other techniques, and what I would suggest, if there are other issues going on that need to be investigated a little bit more, it's better to work with a qualified EFT practitioner than to try and do these things on your own.
Yes, get the proper guidance.
Because things can change. Yes. Exactly. And what you might be tapping on initially, various other aspects might come into it. And because your memory plays a part here as well. And it's like, oh, okay, well, it's just taken me down the road to when I was 5 years old at school. And I had trouble speaking in the class, and I got bullied or something like that. And then that affects your subconscious, and that brings it through as well. So it's all linked.
It is, isn't it? Everything. What I really like about the EFT is the acceptance. It's very much in line with the self-care that you were talking about before. It's quite a gentle approach, isn't it? There's no judgment. There's it's just sitting with the feeling and acknowledging it, and not judging it, not wishing it to be anything other than it. Yeah, just acknowledging that it's there, and then let
Exactly.
it
Yeah.
pass,
And let it go. Yeah.
yeah.
And your body is feeling this inside as well. And these energy pathways. And sometimes I just find it easy to think of, so all this stress, it's like if you've got a hose and normally the water would flow through easily, but when you get a kink in that hose or a knot, it just all builds up in one certain area, doesn't it? And it just builds up and builds up, and you can see the hose getting, wider and wider in that area. And but as soon as you unkink that hose, it just flows normally again. So that's pretty much is what is happening to the energy in our body. Energy needs to move. It needs to flow.
Unkinking, and that's the energy flow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And energy in motion, that's our emotions. We need our emotions to flow. So we, instead of storing them up and holding on to them, letting them go. And EFT is just a powerful tool to help let those emotions go. And it links then to the brain, the subconscious, and it all works in flow together.
That is so important to know. And for people who don't practice self-care and don't stop to think or listen to their body, their body's probably screaming at them in a way to say, hey, listen to me. And using this EFT technique is really getting them to connect with themselves on a deeper level and acknowledge what is actually happening within themselves, so that you can release those kinks and have a lovely flow. So, and
when you say the body's screaming, that's when the dis-ease starts to, that's when you have ailments, pains, aches, things that are happening to your body. Your body is trying to tell you, and something is not right here.
Exactly. And with a buildup of stress, you actually develop physical ailments because of it. And you might get a cold, you might lose your voice, you might start getting, it can actually have quite severe consequences, can't it?
Totally. Impact your immune system, create hypertension, which leads to stroke, heart attack, and even just other subtle things like affecting your sleep. But then if you get into sleep then affects other aspects of your body as well.
True.
So managing stress is just so important in our day-to-day lives.
Yeah.
And that's where the tapping can become just something that's easy to include.
And you can do it anywhere, can't you? It doesn't matter where you are. You can do it wherever you are.
No, and it might look a bit strange, like when you first start doing it, tapping around, your head and your body. But there are other ways that we can do what I call stealth tapping. So if you're on public transport, or if you're out, somewhere that you don't want to be seen tapping, you can just use some of the points. Like if I'm just using the collarbone point, you might just sit there and just tap that.
Yeah.
Or you can just, as I did at the dentist, I just tapped the end of my fingertips. And you can have your hands underneath the desk at work. If you're stressed and the boss is yelling at people for something, you can just sit there and
under the table
and tap. There's another particular technique that I like to use sometimes, and it's called tap and rant.
Nice.
So you can actually tap just on the side of your hand and then just yell and scream. So if you're particularly frustrated, angry, let it out. Don't keep it in the body.
Because we all have those moments.
Totally. We all do. But this, maybe not in public or on, public transport to do this one, but perhaps if you're at home or in the car driving, turn up the music, really, crank it up so no one can hear you, and just let it all out. But tap as you do.
Yes.
Because you're just moving that energy through your body and you're releasing all that stored tension and stress. And yes, so much better for it. So tap and rant.
Tap and rant. I like that one. Tap and rant, and then you're opening all this beautiful space for good things to come in, aren't you?
Absolutely.
I love
Yes.
that. So how can you oh I suppose how can you incorporate EFT into your daily life if you're you need to be specific about things, but if someone's just moving through their day and they're feeling a little heightened or anxious or sad, what can they do through the day to use EFT and to help them deal with that?
Just tap on it. If
Just tap.
anything, when anything comes up, yeah, just acknowledge it. So you could just be sitting at your workspace or whatever, and like something comes up, as you said, look, I'm just feeling really frustrated right now. Say, even though I feel frustrated, just thinking about what's just happened, or I've got to have this deadline and I'm not ready. I deeply completely accept myself, and you can just tap on any of the points. Just
So
tap.
whatever it is, acknowledge it, accept, and tap.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. And are there, there would be different people have different belief systems. Does EFT work better for some people than it does for others? Do you have to have a particular mindset for EFT to be effective? Or is it just can it just help everybody?
It can just help everybody. But I think if you are more open to accepting that it could be
Yes,
of benefit to you, probably would be a little bit better. But yeah, they've tried it on all sorts of people in the scientific tests that they've done. And I have seen videos that where they've used it on people that, no, I have no belief whatsoever, but all right, total skeptics.
yes.
And there was like some trials that were done over 3 days. So they took these group, all different random people away, 3 days, and some had some really major issues, and PTSD, war veterans, there was sexual abuse, there was like really traumatic,
serious
traumas. And then there was also, and a lot of those people, they had no idea about EFT. A lot of them were skeptical, but by the end of the 3 days, all of them had changed their beliefs. All of them had changed, had moved through whatever problem. The PTSD was gone.
Wow.
It was all neutralized. It just neutralizes all the emotions.
That's powerful, isn't it? Because emotion is such a heavy driver in everything you do, how you think, how you act, your perceptions of things. And like you said, it's that instant reaction, which is you don't necessarily excuse me, need to respond to things in the way you always have, just because it's a learned behavior. So dealing with your emotions in such a lovely, calm, accepting way is quite freeing, it sounds.
It is. I suppose it's the name, emotional freedom.
Yeah.
Techniques.
Yeah.
And then just being able to shift, as you say, your perceptions around your thinking. That has such a big impact as well.
Absolutely.
That you can just look at things in a different light.
Yep.
And it doesn't have to be that old beliefs that you've always had. And the beliefs a lot of us have, and a lot of women, that I deal with, like, I'm not good enough. Like these, what we call tabletop beliefs.
Yes.
I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. And that can affect how we then deal with other things in our life on an everyday basis, like our confidence.
Very true.
It could be applying for a new role or a new job or something, but, oh, no, I'm not confident. I can't do that. I'm not good enough. They wouldn't take me on. But if we can tap into what set up those beliefs in the first place and just eliminate them.
Move it along.
Exactly. Yeah. And we talk about a tabletop of beliefs like I'm not good enough or whatever, I'm not worthy, but often holding up that table are lots of legs.
Yes.
And the legs can be from anything from how my mother or my father spoke to me when I was young, saying, oh, you can't do that. You'll never be good enough for that. Or, just the influences, particularly from when we're growing up from 0 to 7. whoever our main caregivers are, we're sponges. We just soak everything up. And that's where we start to learn.
Yes.
Um,
and our personality and our self-belief forms.
Exactly. So it could be a teacher. It could be, someone, if you're in a church group, someone just spoke to you in a different way, and just as young children, we just take that on, and then, I'm not good enough. I can't do this. Or I ran last in the running competition. I can't keep up. Others are better than me. And then we take on all these beliefs, and they are just not true, but they just affect how we think.
They do.
As we get older and moving forward.
And we hang on to them as though they are our truth.
Exactly.
So this is amazing that it can just free you from all of it, those blockages that are holding you back.
And often once we might take down one of these table legs, and as I said earlier, it's about being specific on an incident or something that happened, or how someone spoke to you, or how it made you feel at the time. If we can then take out all these table legs, what you'll find is a lot of it then all just collapses. A lot of all the other thoughts that we have about ourselves and beliefs will just all collapse with it.
They lose their power so much. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
You just have this whole shift in perspective, and you'll gain confidence, or whatever it is that you're working on. It's amazing. It really is. It's really amazing.
Fantastic. I think everyone should give EFT a try, and obviously I recommend they get in touch with you to book a few sessions and work on some things that are holding them back, or some issues that they're having in their life. Or just getting through the day sometimes.
Yeah. And we can't stop stress from happening. We can't stop life from happening. No. Things happen all the time, but it's how we can deal with it.
Absolutely.
In a productive way.
Yes.
Is what counts, I think.
And this is a very nurturing, productive way, because it really unkinks that hose, as you mentioned before. Okay. And I did touch on earlier that you do a lot of work with the Look Good, Feel Better organisation, and you do tapping, EFT, with the cancer patients to help them deal with stress. And you're also having a bit of a fundraising event coming up, which I'd love you to tell us a little bit about.
Oh, thank you, Sam, for the opportunity for this too. And can I just mention that I feel so privileged now to have become an EFT practitioner, to move into this space of helping the people going through their cancer journey. It's something that I hadn't even thought of that I would be doing, because for such a long time I'd worked in this space volunteering for Look Good, Feel Better as the makeup person, helping them face their cancer with confidence through the appearance-related side effects of their treatment, through the makeup and the skincare.
It's wonderful,
but
so important.
On the other side of going through their cancer journey is all the emotions behind it.
Yes.
And how much, the fear, the resentment, just there's so much that impacts them. And if we can then also help them manage the stress, the fear, everything that's going on through this journey, it will help them be able to then go through their treatment much better. They'll be able to have such better results in just their health, basically.
Exactly, because it's such a horrible, stressful, scary time for them and their loved ones. When totally. As soon as anyone hears the word cancer, it just puts the fear of God into them, and to actually be going through it yourself, and then all the physiological changes and the losing your hair and feeling like you're losing your identity. It's just quite horrifying. And
so you can just imagine the plethora of emotions that they deal with on a daily basis. And also too, something that I'd never had even thought of before was the link. This is going back to my alcohol coaching now, is the alcohol and breast cancer.
Yes.
So, I just think there should be so much more awareness around what alcohol does to your body as well. But anyway, that's another one. But the fundraising event that I have coming up is because most people may be aware that next month, July, is Dry July month.
Yes.
And it's just speaking about the alcohol piece, it's just a great month to raise awareness around taking a break from alcohol, even if it's just for 30 days.
Yeah.
And just to give your body a break and just to feel the benefits at the end of 30 days, just how good it can
how good it will feel.
And while we've got this spotlight on July and Dry July, I'm holding a long table lunch, and it is supporting Look Good, Feel Better. So if anybody's in the Sydney area, Wollongong, South Coast, please come along. It's at a beautiful venue called Willow Farm at Berry.
Yes, I'm familiar with that from your retreat. It's so glorious, such a gorgeous location.
It is. It's so peaceful and tranquil, but there's a gorgeous big rustic shed, because we know July on the South Coast or anywhere in many places in Australia, it's winter, right?
Yes.
So we've got to be comfortable. So there's a beautiful big rustic shed with heating and fires. So this gorgeous long table. It's going to be rustic, sort of a beautiful meals, three course meals, but with paired non-alcoholic wines and drinks, bottomless drinks. There'll be outdoor games. There's giant finska and bocce and lots of fun. And I just want to let people know that you can have a wonderful time sans booze. You don't need alcohol to have a great time. So
it's about the connection and the people and the activities.
Exactly. Yeah, and we're going to have lots of prizes and auctions as well. So just a really good opportunity to support a fabulous cause and look after yourself as well. Take a break during July. So if anyone is interested, tickets are through Eventbrite.
Yes.
So just online, if you go to Eventbrite, just type in Long Table Lunch, that will come up there.
Perfect.
And, come along and support a great cause.
That's wonderful. And I will pop the link to the fundraiser, to the Long Table Lunch, at the bottom of the show notes too. So anyone who's listening can just click the link and go straight to that event and buy their tickets to come along. I wish I was down there. I'm up in Brisbane, so it's a bit far, but
I wish you could come
too. Wonderful day, and you always put on a fabulous event, so no doubt this will be amazing and lots of fun.
Thank you.
And you've also got some EFT tapping packages, some specials for June and July. Would you like to tell us a little bit about those?
I do, because I really want to get this modality out there to the public, because there's still so many people haven't even heard about emotional freedom techniques.
I mentioned it to my husband the other day, and he said, "What? Money transfer, banking?"
Yeah, no, that's what most people think it is.
Like, no, it's not that.
No, so I've started just running some little free workshops in my community as well, just to get the word out there, just get people tapping, and they're loving it, just to, along the lines of just managing stress, and it's just amazing. But so what I've decided to do is just for June and July is to have some, it's just an EFT taster bundle, I've called it. So normally it's $497. It's for 4 sessions. So the first session is discovery session, and just to have a chat and just to see what's going on. And then 3 mini sessions. So 4 hours all up. And but if you sort of want to have a look and just have a little try for yourself, I've got a $200 discount. So instead of $497, it's $297, and that's for the 4 sessions.
4 sessions. That's brilliant. That's such a good deal, and really a nice way for people who are curious to have a little go and get to know you a bit more, and how you can support them with EFT and all of your other coaching and retreats and all the other wonderful things that you have on offer. So and I'll put the link to everything below in the show notes too, so people can
Thank you, Sam.
You.
And I just believe connection is key, and as women, helping other women just to, in whatever way that we can, it's just something I think that we all need to do, just to help each other out, no matter what way.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today, Cindy. It's been such a pleasure talking to you as always. I always learn so much from you, and you've got a lot of really wonderful gifts to give the world. And I really encourage people to get in touch and learn a bit more about how you can help them navigate through life a little more.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you for the opportunity. It's just been really lovely, fabulous talking to you as well. And you are one of those beautiful people that the universe has brought into my life for a reason too. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Cindy.